Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the LiveU Sports Show. My name is Chris Perry, coming to you live from Westboro, Massachusetts. That's right, folks. If you're keeping count, this is the third studio that I've built in 4 weeks. Hopefully, this is the last one for a little while. James, good evening. How are you tonight?
I'm doing great, Chris. Thank you for asking. I'm actually relieved because I've been sick of doing all the tech setups we're doing for you on all your studios all over the country. But I am very excited for this episode, as I am a soccer fan and a gamer myself. I even got my controller here, and I think it's going to be a really cool episode.
James, that's awesome. Hey, so I see you're wearing a t-shirt this week as opposed to the customary LiveU jacket. Is it warm there?
Warm is an understatement. It's like about 90 degrees in here right now because my AC unit isn't in my window yet, and I have a light on my face. It's a disaster.
Well, James, I've got a hashtag for you. Hashtag James needs AC.
Thank you, Chris. Thank you.
We'll work on that for next week. All right. Well, for our main story tonight, nos vamos a Mexico. That's right. We're going to Mexico, where we're going to talk with Jorge Camacho, the CEO of Magnum Solutions. He joins us live this evening from Mexico City. Good evening, Jorge. Welcome to the LiveU Sports Show.
Nice to see you there.
Jorge, thank you so much. Let's start by clearing the air here, because in the United States, football is something very different than football in Mexico, but and for that matter, the rest of the world. But I got to say, I think the rest of the world probably has it right on this one.
Well, actually, as you say, the only place where football and soccer is not related is the U.S. But yes, that's how we handle it.
Well, for all of our fans out there, football and soccer tonight, same thing. So let's dive right into this, because what you guys pulled together is like truly amazing. So walk me through how you ended up working with Liga, the Liga Football Club.
Okay, let me start first. The thing is, we are facing a pandemic worldwide, so we're all stuck at home. Sports, as you know, they are shut down, obvious reasons. So the thing was how to bring viewers back to the TV stations for sports. So the thing was trying to set up which console we were going to use it. And as you can see on the pictures, we decided to make that test here in the office. That's the guys here in the office that are gamers testing it and making tests to see how it works.
So Jorge, this is clearly a very complicated technical setup, and we've actually prepared a drawing to help our viewers understand that. So the way it works is we've got the players, and they've got LiveU Smart in the field, and they're feeding their faces back to the studio, as well as an LU600 with the PlayStation feed. So we've got one for the home team, and we have one for the away team. Similar setup at both locations. Now, both of those will go to a home production TV station with all 5 of those feeds. So we've got the 600 feed, the away team, as well as the home team, and then the final switched output would go to the rights holder. So now the rights holder can then take those switched clean feeds and send those back out through LiveU Matrix to the other stations that can then grab and produce their own program on top of this with their own announcers. So this is a really unique way to take something that is effectively very complicated and be able to distribute out very far and wide using the Matrix platform.
Exactly. So after that, what we did, it was the decision about all the teams, because as you know, there are 18 teams, but each team has rights and contracts for each broadcaster. So that means that Team A doesn't have the rights for broadcaster C or whatever. So the thing was how to make it all work together and respect the rights and the contracts they have on the original match of the Liga. So what we decided was, okay, now since we all have LiveU, according to each TV station, if they were going to be uploading or just downloading signals. As you can see on my back, actually on my back on that screen, that's the screens where we publicate the live feeds, then we pass it to the broadcasters that has contracts or something with this TV station, so they can download it. And the other ones, they don't have the access to that. So it was a very complicated logistics issue to make all of them work together. We have 10 of the bigger broadcasters, national, plus one in the US, which is in US, Univision. So making them all work together and put all the flows on the stream so they can download the correct one, that was the issue.
And I imagine working with 10 separate national broadcasters is a challenge unto itself, because now you've got the league, these 10 broadcasters, these players in their homes that are using LiveU Smart and the LU600, and you've got PlayStation involved in order to be able to get those feeds back to the station and switch it. So this is a really comprehensive setup. What kind of viewership was this getting in Mexico?
Well, right now, of the last report that we just got, we got more than 100 million viewers. Why? Because as I told you, there are a lot of platforms and a lot of broadcasters. So each one, they are transmitting it. So right now we have reached 100 million transmissions. Viewers, sorry.
That's truly astounding. I mean, you know, starting from what was originally a very, just almost like a concept that was brought to you, to be able to then get all of the broadcasters to work with you and the teams and the players and everything. It's truly an amazing feat that you guys were able to pull off. Can I ask you, Jorge, do you have any tips or tricks for any sports broadcaster or other sports league that might be looking to do something similar to what Liga did with the E-Liga?
The first thing is to do it simple, because you have to remember that with this pandemic, we don't have the access to the studios. We don't have the access to the infrastructure that we have. So if we don't make it simple to work and also easy for the people in-house to operate by themselves without an engineer, then we're lost. So I think that was the clue. Matrix is very easy to use, and everything we did it by WhatsApp, coordinating everything, so it was really easy.
And so what was the most challenging part of what you had to do? Obviously, you know, the Matrix platform makes it very easy to distribute video, but I have to imagine you're working with a bunch of soccer players quarantined in their homes. That's got to present its own challenges here too.
Yes, as you know, obviously, we're talking about people that they are not related with the broadcast bargain, you know, technical things that we tell them how to do it, they don't know it. They just know how to answer their phones or download an app. And now you have to tell them, this is what you're going to do. Practically, they were making a production on their houses. So they didn't know exactly what they were doing. So that was difficult to tell them what to do.
Well, Jorge, it's truly amazing what you guys have pulled off, you know, with the E-Liga. I'm really hopeful that soccer and other sports will return soon, but certainly this concept of taking real players and having them play online games with each other and then producing it as though it's a real sporting event, I think has a lot of legs. And I'm cautiously optimistic that others might adopt this model. So, Jorge, thank you so much for joining us. I really do hope to see you soon, hopefully in Cancun.
Hopefully, we'll see you again, my friend. Hopefully out of this pandemic.
And now, on a remotely interesting segment, we wanted to talk about something very near and dear to LiveU's heart, cellular technology. And for that, we turn to our resident expert, VP of Engineering of the Americas, Dan Pisarski. Good evening, Dan. Welcome to the show.
Thanks, Chris. Glad to be here.
So Dan, can you talk about how a LiveU unit is different than just, say, a regular cell phone?
Absolutely. So the radios inside a cell phone and the radios inside a LiveU have a lot in common. They're using technologies like LTE or long-term evolution to connect to cellular networks. And that technology has changed over the years to include faster and faster speeds on both uplink and downlink. But there's some core differences as well. The LiveU has a high gain purpose-built antenna that's got a different priority than the antenna you'll find in your cell phone. A lot of times the antenna you'll find in your cell phone, some of the priorities that went into building that antenna are, of course, the size and form factor of the phone, as well as good reception. In the LiveU, we've got some different options when it comes to the size and shape of the antenna, and we can use a much higher gain design to make sure that you can reach very distant towers. There's many components to make up the quality of your signal and your signal strength, but obviously the ability to receive signal from the tower and to transmit signal to the tower is a big part of that. And the custom-built LiveU antennas play a role in making sure that's the best it can be.
So Dan, for a lot of us, cellular networks are the cell phone that's in our hand, or in the case of LiveU, the backpack that's on our back. What actually goes into building a cellular network? Because it's obviously much more than just that.
Absolutely. So the core of the cellular network is, of course, the cells, hence the term. It's the idea that in a given region or area, a certain number of antennas are able to reach a certain distance into that area. And when you get past where that one antenna would be able to reach, there's more antennas that you would then switch to seamlessly as a way to keep the connection going. Think of talking on your phone as you're driving down the road. It's not just one big giant antenna broadcasting to a very large region like a whole state, which is the way something like broadcast TV works. It's actually many, many small antennas or medium-sized antennas covering different cells or areas of the geography. And as you drive down the road, your phone is switching from one antenna to the next seamlessly so that you've got, hopefully, no break in the call. And of course, this has been an area where the cellular networks have focused for years and years in terms of perfecting that and making sure, you know, the old competition between the different players out there of no dropped calls or less dropped calls than our competitors out there. Once you understand that kind of topography layout of the network, the other components that are made up here is that radio access network itself, which is the ability for the radio in like your phone or the LiveU to connect to the radio on the far side of the antenna. And there's a certain technology that's used in between those two radios. In the case of LTE, that technology is LTE. In the case of 5G, it's a new protocol called NR. In the case of 3G, there was a couple different competing protocols that might have been made up of. And that protocol controls some of the quality, the total bandwidth you can send through the air between those 2 points. And the radio access network is really where a lot of the both magic things and painful things with the cell phone network occur. So all the things that we might think of as like the challenges and the challenges that LiveU is helping you overcome, whether it's crowding or weak signal or physical obstructions to the signal, those all happen on the radio access network. Once it goes across the radio access network and reaches the tower, it's then sent on a normal packet network, and that's often made up of fiber, sometimes made up of some other technologies. And there was a period in cell phone history where that network was a problem as well, but it's easy to say that in the modern days, the cell phone carriers have done a lot of work to make sure that the actual landline network is amazing, and that's rarely a source of issues today. So usually once you traverse the radio access network, and now you're on the landline network, you're good. You've gotten to where you want to go, and then those packets can go out on the public internet, make it to your server, get decoded again as video, and that's how the entire flow works. But those kind of components, the cells, which are how the radio access network is laid out, and then the actual wired network that then it traverses after that, kind of the basic building blocks of cell phone networks.
So how this relates to LiveU, you know, we've got a unit, it's in the field, and a customer just wants that unit to connect up and work and stream. What part of the cellular technology are we relying on there, and what helps guarantee that that signal is going to come through as cleanly and at a high quality as possible?
There's actually quite a few technologies all stacked there together, and it's part of what the LiveU hopefully makes very easy for our end users, so they don't have to worry about complexities of, did I manage to connect to the best network out there? Which band did I connect to? Was it the best band I could have connected to? Which tower am I connected to? These all play roles in what kind of signal quality you get. And of course, at the very heart of what the LiveU is doing is network bonding. And so you get many chances to make those decisions. Maybe you can make very powerful decisions in terms of connecting to the right band, connecting to the right technology on one carrier. And then if the other carrier, if you're a little more distant from the tower, or there's more crowding on that network at that moment, it doesn't matter that you weren't able to make those best decisions there because you've got all these other networks to carry you through. But I think one of the technologies that we see now emerging in some places around the world, it does depend on sometimes local laws and regulations, is prioritization on the radio access network. So the ability to say our broadcasters are actually not just on the packet network once you reach the tower and it gets transmitted over the public internet, but even on the radio access side at a slightly higher priority than the casual cell phone user. And that ensures that things like broadcast get through.
So you're making a distinction here that I think is very important. The difference between prioritization on the radio access network sounds new as compared to some of the prioritization schemes that we've heard in the past, right?
Absolutely. So technologies to allow for a sort of form of virtual private network on the wired network have existed for a long time and are used by large enterprises. The ability to have phones that once they traverse the radio access network, once they've connected to a tower and sent that data through the air and it's now arrived at the tower and is moving over something like fiber, it now goes on a private link and goes to a private server. That technology has been around for a long time, but it hasn't been a big advantage to our broadcasters because that's not where the trouble really arises for someone like a broadcaster. The contention comes in the radio access network, in the wireless network. That's where crowding occurs. That's where trouble with low signal strength occurs. That's where all of your sort of pain points occurs in the radio access network. And you're right, for a long time, technology to prioritize that radio access network was only available to a very, very select few. Think of it like POTUS, right, and Joint Chiefs sort of thing. Recently, due to improvements in LTE, some changes in regulations, nationwide rollout of some emergency access networks for first responders, this technology has now been leveraged in a way where somebody like a broadcaster can also take advantage of that in the form of radio access network prioritization. And that's available in the US on your LiveU units.
And so can you talk just for 1 second here? Let's say a customer has in an at-home production type scenario, 2, 3, or 5 units all in the same area. How can they help ensure that those units are going to get the maximum performance from each unit, so every feed going back to the station in an at-home or REMI type scenario is going to look its best?
Yeah, this is I think a point of confusion sometimes, because the feeling that a unit like ours is using a quote unquote lot of bandwidth, and so if I power up 6 of them all on the same location, I'm really taxing the local network in a way. That's, obviously cells in a cell phone network were built to scale to hundreds and thousands of users. Now, it's true that over time, all those users, professionals using LiveU gear, and the fans in the stands just using Facebook Live or other applications, the overall bandwidth requirements have gone up and up and up. We're greedy and we constantly use more bandwidth, and the phones and the networks try to keep up to that greediness. But in terms of just an equation of I'm going to bring my 6 LiveU units into this one area to do a shot, is my 7th unit going to put me over the edge? The answer is no. The networks are scaled way beyond what 6 or 7 or 10 or 20 units are going to be able to tax in terms of the resources on the network that they're using. In terms of getting your best signal out of that situation, it really looks sort of the same as the way you might answer that for a single unit. Make sure the unit's elevated, not blocked by human beings or by physical structures. Ensuring that you're using the unit that's appropriate for the situation based on modem count. Is it a 4 modem unit? Is it a 6 modem unit? Using the radio access network prioritization we just spoke about, especially if you're going to be in a crowded scenario. These are all things that can help you get the best signal out of one unit, and you would apply all the same logic to say, how am I going to make sure all 6 of my units are getting the best signal? So for instance, don't bring 6 units into a situation, put 5 of them slightly elevated, make sure they're above the crowd, make sure they're getting great line of sight to where the towers are, where the antennas are, and then take the 6th unit and shove it underneath the bench and expect to get the same signal out of it. Those things are the things that are going to create a difference in what signal you're getting out of the units.
Awesome. Well, Dan, thank you so much for the time this evening, and really appreciate you coming on the LiveU Sports Show.
Yeah, no problem at all. I hope it teaches you a little bit about cellular networks.
And that's going to do it for this edition of the LiveU Sports Show. I've been saying it for weeks, folks, and I'll say it again. Tuesday, June 2nd, 10 a.m. Eastern Daylight Time, LiveU has a very special live broadcast coming over Facebook and YouTube as an announcement. I hope that you'll join me as we get to share some very, very exciting news. As a result, the sports show will be off next Wednesday, but don't fret, don't scratch that out on your calendar. 8 p.m. Eastern on next Wednesday, June 3rd, we will have a special show. More details on that coming up. On behalf of everyone here at LiveU, thank you so much for joining us tonight. My name is Chris Perry. Good night.
Thanks for watching the LiveU Sports Show.